coming to the Bumrah, there was a cricket pundits in subcontinent trying to criticize him, like when Siraj can play all five, why can't Bumrah?
You said that Virat and Rohit retired early at this age. I will politely like to disagree and say that there has to be a transition at some point.
Every time India goes to the foreign land, you have a lot of Indian supporters across the globe. But this time it was a dead silence. There were no one. That was the news. That was the headline. Everybody was expecting this team to choke. The TV ad used to show like, "हम सीखने के लिए नहीं, सिखाने के लिए आ रहा है." You are just boosting a thing. What are you up to? We didn't expect India to play the way they played, show the resilience which they showed. Everybody just stepped up whenever it was required. As a non-Indian, how do you accept the fact that a Gill is growing good and he's trying to tally a greatest batsman scores?
Who have been the last three captains of India? MS Dhoni, Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma. एक से बढ़कर एक. And then this crown is placed on a youngster's head, Shubman Gill. If we just focus on this series, he did not excel. He conquered.
What Jadeja has replied or what Washington has replied was something more than that. He said like, go ball, we're gonna do our things. You don't teach me you don't say us what to do. When every match ended, there used to be some or the other controversies between the team. But what I read on one of the newspaper articles saying that after the end of test series, both the teams went out for a dinner together.
Well, yeah, at the end of the day, they need their IPL contract.
You are putting it that way.
I'm just kidding.
I didn't mean that.
Hello everyone, my name is Hassan Ali and I'm joined by Sharan Kumar Yeli, and behind the camera like always is Rupesh Atmuri, and this is Cricktake. In today's episode, we will discuss the first ever Anderson Tendulkar series that took place in the summer of 2025. It was the battle of two cricketing cultures. On one hand, we had India going through a renaissance of sorts where they play without Virat and Rohit Sharma for the first time in a while. England continue the test of whether Bazball is going to last long term or whether it will meet its fate at the end of this series. These questions headline the lead up and the build up to this very series that we mentioned. Shubman Gill was able to shut up his haters. He was able to shut down all the criticism that he faced by winning the man of the series. Ben Stokes reminded us why he's still a legend. Ravindra Jadeja fought like insult was a defeat. This series was full of ups and downs, injuries, reputations were redefined, and battles were fought till the very last second, as evidenced by the last test match that took place in the Oval. Please join us for our first segment. Welcome to the throwback segment. Sharan, let's rewind a little bit before the series was even played. Let's talk about the decision to rename the India-England series to the Anderson Tendulkar Trophy. Why is this such a big deal for fans, if you could tell our listeners a little bit? And why do you think these two names particularly were chosen? And I know they're legends, but is there more to it than just that?
Hello everyone, this is Sharan Kumar. Coming back to your question, Hassan. When you look at the BGT series, if you call it as an India-Australia series, it doesn't bring the depth which the series carries. When you just call it as a Border Gavaskar series, that's the BGT. It has its own depth. However, when you look at the England Test series, it's been always an England touring India or India touring England. You never name it. See the depth when you go to the BGT. The great Gavaskar, one of the greatest batsmen that India ever produced.
Correct.
Go through on the other side, look at the Border.
Alan Border.
Alan Border, the greatest cricketer ever produced.
You think?
I am like one of the.
Yes.
At least in his era is the greatest.
Maybe the greatest captain, but yeah, we can debate about that another day.
Yeah, and we are not even worth to speak about that guy.
That's true.
Let's be humble.
Agreed.
So that's the reference. What I feel like even England Test series should have something, a name. When I name it, there should be a legend like people should remember for a long, long, long time. When you want to choose a legend, India has produced a lot of legends. And the one who tried and tested and played for a long time in England, and the one England player who tried, tested, and played long time in India. So when you look at this vehement, there should be Sachin on one side and there should be Anderson on the other side. And what are the other choices you had that you can name it something else? I don't think there is any other choice rather than having Anderson and Tendulkar Trophy. Do you think there was any other options?
No.
So that's the best
No.
choice, I think.
Mm.
As I mentioned, the name itself brings a weightage, and it also brings a responsibility for each of their countries to represent their name to win for them.
Sharon, one of the things that I used to think about when I saw the name being changed from Anderson, from just the India-England series to the Anderson-Tendulkar series, I thought that they were going to utilize this for more marketing and PR purposes. I completely understand and respect the fact that when you add their names, you're adding stature to the series, you're adding responsibility and weight to the players that are playing. But do you think that there was some marketing or PR advantages because you closely follow social media of cricket teams, cricket clubs? So did you see any change in that, or do you purely think that this was a tribute to two legends of the game?
Firstly, I have to admit that it is purely for a sake of the stature that Sachin Tendulkar and Anderson carries.
That's awesome.
But you know how cricket and Bollywood sells off in India.
That's true.
That is another byproduct of naming them as Anderson Tendulkar Trophy.
Mhm.
One, you are paying a tribute to your legends,
Mhm.
and it also pulling a crowd. When you name it as an Tendulkar, the whole series, like from the age of my brother or my cousins who are like now in their late 40s, they still connect with a Tendulkar. And Tendulkar passed and a Kohli era passed, and like it's a Gill era. So you are accumulating all set of fans. So this is a kind of a PR strategy, and which works very well in India because, as I mentioned, Bollywood and cricket are a hot cake in India all the time.
So it would be fair to say that it is a bit of a double whammy, right? You, on one hand, you add the stature, the status to the series, and then obviously you market it,
Yep.
right? And I don't want our listeners to think that we see that as a negative thing.
Not at all.
I just wanted to, ensure from your perspective whether their first intention was marketing or respect.
Yes, I just mentioned the
Yeah.
same. There's a primary
So,
reason. Was
that's good to
pay a
know.
tribute.
And speaking of respect and status and stature, I mentioned in the introduction that you guys were without Virat and Rohit. How did that feel? Talk about it. Like what I'm saying, when I'm asking you how does it feel, I mean more as in when India are flying to England, they're without Virat, they're without Rohit. It does obviously make any Indian supporter a bit nervous that two stalwarts of our batting lineup will not be available to us. How did you feel? And then once the series began and you saw all these Indian batsmen putting their hands up, did that feeling change?
Let me answer it in a segment. I'll first answer like how it felt for every Indian cricket fan when these two legends announced their retirement. Firstly, the way they announced their retirement, that was not a perfect time, what I feel like. And the platform which they used to announce their retirement, I don't think neither a Virat Kohli fan nor a Rohit Sharma fan nor the Indian cricket fan deserve to see their legends retiring on Instagram. Hell no. We follow cricket so closely. It's been like we follow them through and through. Even today, if Virat Kohli or Rohit Sharma just post something on Instagram, before seeing it, we think twice. Is it something loading again? That's the level they have set up. We don't really deserve that, seeing our legends to retire this early and that to retire in this format. We don't deserve this. And coming back to the question, that was not just a void that a batsman's created. You today or tomorrow the other batsman has to step up and score a run for India. It's the void when you look at Rohit Sharma. Rohit Sharma has groomed youngsters under his wings. You take up Yashasvi Jaiswal, you take Sarfaraz Khan, you take other youngsters. They are very close with him. That's the environment he created around him. Even if he scolds, they consider it as a Mumbai slang as like a brother. He
And he does scold a lot.
and he does that, but it's just a slang. There is nothing much. There is no
वो
emotional.
उसका Mumbaikar style
Yes, it's
है.
just a Mumbai curve thing.
Hmm.
And to win that kind of confidence from your youngsters, it takes a lot of effort. And for Rohit Sharma, it's just a cakewalk. Because that's how natural he is. He never induce something to do. I need to do this like that. It just happens. That's his aura. And when SSV Jaiswal hit a century, he straight away put his hand and showed to Rohit Sharma. That's the relationship they share. And the role which Jaiswal plays is basically the role Rohit Sharma used to play. Come, attack, great wherein the Sehwag used to play the same role. Dirty the ball as soon as possible so that there is no swing, and same for the bowlers. So, and coming back to the Virat one, Virat Kohli is not just a batsman for me. For a test cricket, he is not just a test match cricketer for India. He is a representation of whole test cricket across the world.
Global
He's a
ambassador.
global ambassador for the test cricket. That's the right word I can put it up. Whether he is a captain or he is just a batsman, whenever he is on the field, there is something that comes up with him. I was watching one of the podcasts where Indian umpire Anil Chaudhary says, like whenever Virat Kohli is on the field, half of the other team members has their confidence low as a rock. Hit their rock bottom. So every time, that's the level of intensity which Virat Kohli plays with.
Well, as a Pakistani fan, I know that better than anyone. In the last decade, I think the only person that has consistently stopped us from beating India is Virat. Yes, there have been one-sided matches where India have easily won, but the tight matches, that was flipped by Virat every single time. Anyway, we talk more about Virat in our RCB episode. I would request our listeners to check that out if they have the time. Sharon, you spoke about Virat and Rohit, and thank you for sharing your emotions. Do you think the fan base, the Indian fan base, felt what you did, or were they more open to, let's transition to the newer generation? You said that Virat and Rohit retired early at this age. I will politely like to disagree and say that there has to be a transition at some point.
Yes, the transition has started. But Virat Kohli, at the age of 36, I don't think so. I can see the numbers dipping for Virat Kohli. But at the age of
Especially in Test cricket.
Yes, I saw that. But there is something beyond numbers which Virat Kohli can contribute in a point of leadership or the mentorship. When you have a whole young set of players playing in a territory like England, he was the same guy who got bashed in 2014 and came back and smashed Anderson in 2018. What best example you want to look after? This is the mentorship you can provide.
But Sharon, I will add one thing. If there is a location in the world where Virat has struggled the most, it's England. And if you contextualize that before this tour, ever since COVID, Virat's numbers have been on the decline in Test cricket especially. If you throw him into the deep end in England again, that might have been a very ugly end to his career. In a way, he might have just been protected. Might. And you have to admit one thing, Sharon. Like, I'm saying this as a Pakistani looking from outside in. As much as India loves Kohli, India also criticizes Kohli like mad.
I understand.
He doesn't even have any breathing room. Like, so many people criticize him for moving to the UK. I don't blame him. He can't even step foot outside without having a single centimeter of space. And then on top of that, the entire country's expectations are on you. Then you're at the tail end of your career. You're not as prolific as you used to be once upon a time. And then on top of that, you want to go and throw him into England under a new captain against Bazball and judge him probably by the same standards that were he set pre-COVID. You're going to give him a horrible end to his career. I think he might have dodged a bullet.
That's your perspective.
Yes.
Let me put it in
As I said, this is like me speaking as a Pakistani looking outside in.
So let me put it in other way. Do you think these England wickets are behaving the way they used to behave in 2018?
Would they have made these wickets the same way if Virat and Rohit were here?
I see. If Virat and Rohit were here, and especially if Virat and Rohit were playing in this Rawalpindi hashtag England, they would have scored 100 like a joke. I definitely I can take a bet that Virat Kohli would score 500 odd runs in this flat wickets as a Rawalpindis.
You could have used an Indian ground too, but no
I can say it
problem.
as Chinnaswamy.
Yeah, thank you. It's your own home ground. Okay, but Sharon, we have gone a bit off topic. Let's come back. I apologize to our viewers. When you feel passionately about something, you do tend to verbally spar. It's all healthy. But I just wanted to bring you back and ask you again that when you mentioned feeling hard done by because Virat and Rohit retired early, some accuse that they were forcibly retired. Do you think the general Indian fan base also feels that way or no? And I told you my perspective as well.
So
So,
when this whole series had started, like a 50 days, 60 days tour,
Mm.
when India started their journey from India and landed in Heathrow, every time India goes to the foreign land, you have a lot of Indian supporters across the globe.
Absolutely.
So they comes with the bands, the great Indian, the Bharat Army comes with the
Mhm.
bands. They have the colors, cheers, everything. But this time it was a dead silence. This was a
Not even the Bharat Army?
no, they weren't. They were no one. That was the news. That was the headline. If you look at the podcast which Ashwin does with Vimal Bhai, Vimal Bhai clearly showed because Vimal Bhai was there.
Yeah.
Vimal Bhai follows cricket and cricketers very closely. So he just showed a picture. Like he just mentioned that he never experienced something like this. This was the setup of a test series and nobody was expecting them to excel in this way and everybody was questioning on the selectors part and everybody was still because that was so fresh. It was a fresh wound that Virat Kohli and Rohit
It
retired
also
from
shows Virat and Rohit's star power.
Yes, it shows.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
So
Yeah.
everybody was expecting this team to choke,
Mm-hmm.
though that TV ad used to show like हम सीखने के लिए नहीं सिखाने के लिए आ रहा है. And when I
Yeah.
saw myself, I was like, you are just boosting a thing. What are you up to? Stop joking.
Yeah.
So this was the initial setup when before entering to the test matches. We didn't expect India to play the way they played, show the resilience which they showed.
Mm.
Everybody just stepped up whenever it was required. Series would have ended 3-1. It was just missed. So it ended up being 2-2. Either it would be 3-1
Either England
or it was
yeah.
3-1 India. So it was that close a contest.
Yeah, I think when we go to in the middle segment, we can talk about the pivotal points that occurred during the test matches. And now, Sharon, you briefly mentioned as well that the experts, I had mentioned that the experts were also giving India no chance. The Indian fan base were not giving much of a chance to India. And you were still sad about Virat and Rohit. And so when we put all of this together, it looks for a very somber reading, right? India is going in, no one's expecting anything, blah, blah, blah. It's like very lethargic.
Yep.
It's not, you don't feel like they're driven and energetic to go, और यार वहाँ जाके इंडिया का झंडा गाड़ना है. That you don't feel that in the build-up. Sharon, we've talked about India in detail, and the reason we've talked about India in detail is because you are an Indian supporter, and I really wanted to get your 2 cents. How would you, so obviously if India are expected to get steamrolled, England/Bazball are expected to triumph.
Yep.
What was your perspective or what was your analysis of the sort of expectations or the sort of aims that the English team had set for themselves as well as the English media for the England team?
The main advantage for England was Ben Stokes was coming already.
Mm-hmm.
He was wounded, but he came with all cylinders blazing. We know when he fires, he fires. That's the man, that's the capability,
Match
match winner, always. That's the quality of Ben Stokes.
Mm.
And I should not be using a word we are very afraid, but we all know that what Ben Stokes bring it to the pitch. Virat Kohli always mentioned that he was the most competitive bloke he ever played with. When Virat Kohli says this, then that it means a lot because that is the stature which both collide. So he was coming with already and his team was superb good. But the bowling lineup has even dented right after the Broad and the Anderson's retirement. But since they are moving towards a more batting pitches and the batting strength team, bowling wouldn't be that powerful which used to be. So it was a great chance for India to exploit them in their weakness. Since India has a very good batting lineup, and when you compare to the England bowlers, India has a very good bowling lineup. Because when you look at, you are just looking at the side of the Bumrah, but I can give you a perspective of what Siraj does.
Prasid.
Prasid, like particularly Siraj, like you take all the famous matches which India won in last 5 matches, Siraj has to be there.
I feel like a lot of people would get upset by me saying this, including you. But if I were to make India's bowling lineup for Test cricket, I would put Siraj's name first and Bumrah second. And it's not that I think Siraj is better. It's that Siraj can bowl 30, 35 overs for you
Oh,
at
God.
140. Whereas Bumrah obviously has to be used more strategically.
Yeah, I think in next segment we will be speaking about this whole
Yeah.
workload and all.
Of course. But just one last point before we end this segment is that it's an interesting parallel. India coming into the series without Virat and Rohit. And England went through a similar transition last year when Broad and Anderson retired. Bazball is a little further forward in terms of recovering from the loss of Broad and Anderson, whereas this was India's first test without Kohli and Virat. On this note, Sharon, let's begin our next segment.
Welcome back to the next session. In the middle, Hassan, here we'll discuss about all the test matches, all 5, how the Anderson Tendulkar test series panned out, what are the heroics from each side. I want to have a perception from your end how England test cricket pursued this test series as.
Well, glad to know we can speak about England a little bit now.
That's why the way I started. This is the way I started.
No.
I knew this.
No, I am just joking. You being an Indian supporter, it's natural
I'm wearing
that
Indian
we...
jersey, by the way.
Yeah, of course. A beautiful jersey, by the
This
way.
is Virat Kohli's last test match in Chinnaswamy.
Oh, wow. You
Oh.
were there?
I was there.
Against New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Oh.
Should I remember that?
Let's come back to England. Now, Sharon, I think England... I'll talk a little bit more about what I perceive as the future of Bazball later, but I think in the series, as we mentioned earlier as well, they came in as hot favorites. I also expected... I didn't think India would win the series, but I didn't rule out a draw. But I also was leaning towards 60-70% leaning towards an England victory. I didn't expect a 5-0 or a 4-0 that some
Like
people...
Michael Vaughan was saying it was, what, 4-0?
Yeah, but sometimes I feel like Michael Vaughan just says things to piss off Wasim Jaffer. But that's
They have
a
crazy
great
banter on
relationship.
Twitter, yep.
The banter is unreal. It's entertainment for all of us. But England, I think in this series had their own surges. They had individuals like Harry Brook, Joe Root,
Jamie Smith.
and Atkinson in the last test match. These kinds of players put their hands up at different times. I do feel that England's opening was very disappointing for most of the series, but then when you face bowlers like Bumrah, Siraj, Prasid, who are obviously also in very good form, it does become very challenging and they sort of become the sacrificial goats. I think, as I just mentioned, Brook and Root, as usual, the backbone of the English cricket team. The 22-run victory in the third test match was literally Ben Stokes defined. Right? I think he's probably the best all-rounder in world cricket in the last decade.
Fully stop.
We don't really have an all-rounder in world cricket that can win you matches with the bat and ball. You have batting and bowling all-rounders who are better in one thing than the other. But Ben Stokes, my God, what is it that he can't do? What a superb fielder too. Despite all the injuries and whatnot, and the swagger and the aura is unmatched. But I think in the fourth test match and the second test match, England had to reassess their strategy of Bazball.
Yes.
And that was full credit to India. For the first time, we saw Bazball on the back foot post the Ashes, where they were not swinging wildly and they had to think twice before taking their usual aggressive approach. How do you think India did that?
The approach of Bazball has turned on their belly. That was their, that was their own strategy, but they didn't know that they are using against India.
Mm-hmm.
India is a team, it's gonna repel. If not in a first match, if not in a second match, but it is loading. They're gonna repel you.
Too
They're
much
gonna
talent.
too much of talent, and something if it comes to your pride or a glory, irrespective of whether it is a sports or anything, it's not just a India or you take any other countries. Whenever somebody hurts your pride, you are just wounding a lion, and wounded lion is much more dangerous than the normal lion.
Mm-hmm.
That's the saying.
Absolutely.
So, particularly in a fourth test match, when we lost 2 wickets for nil, and England scored tons of runs, like 650 odd runs, and
669.
We 669, and India were trailing by 300 odd runs. There was a no chance. The maximum best outcome of that test match would be like India taking the match till fifth day and making England to win
In the last session or something. And
that was the
would-
best outcome.
Yeah, and everyone would say, well done, India.
Yeah, that
Good
would
job.
be the last chance.
Yeah.
That was the last best thing I was expecting to do. Losing your openers very cheaply, and
Your middle order.
and then when the match started on the next day, I was not expecting. To be frank, I was like, Gill gonna play some extent. I was banking on KL Rahul to play a long innings. Taken by surprise, both played like a very good innings. Gill's this 100 was very much. If I need to give a credit to a Gill's 100 in this whole series, this was the best innings, the best 100 he had.
Because it was a defensive
This was a
masterclass.
defensive strategy because
Yeah.
you are breaking the backbone of Bazball. You need
Neutralizing the aggression.
Yes, you need to show them like what Test cricket means to them.
Mm.
Because virtually you are feeling a void created by Virat Kohli. You are playing at that position. He was the same guy who used to play something like this, making them taste their own medicine.
Mm.
So when he started playing more defensively, they started thinking about it. And this was not
That we also now have to adjust.
adjust. So this was not just an end. This was a beginning. But when Jadeja pitched in,
And Washington
when
Sundar.
Washington Sundar pitched in,
Mm.
if you see Washington Sundar, they were criticizing, they were not criticizing, they were sledging Washington Sundar too much.
Mm.
And they wanted him to show what a true all-rounder is. Because when you say all-rounder, it's always a Ben Stokes for them. So they don't want any other player to claim themselves as a all-rounder. So England's strategy was basically put a Washington Sundar in under pressure and make him play the bad shot. So when Jadeja scored 100 and Washington scored 100, we all know what had happened just before that 200s.
Stokes tried to shake
tried to
hands.
shake a hand, tried to end the match to save some energy. I appreciate. It was a good try. But what Jadeja has replied or what Washington has replied was something more than that. He said like, go ball. We're going to do our things. You don't teach me you don't say us what to do.
I was also very surprised by that because if the roles were reversed and India had asked England to shake hands, the entire English media would have been up Indian cricket teams. Let's be honest.
You know what's the other best part of that test series?
Mm.
When every match ended, there used to be some or the other controversies between the team.
Mm.
Be it Gambhir going to the pitch and the curator creates a scene or a shaking hand. Everything used to end some or the other way. There used to be a controversy. But what I read on one of the newspaper articles saying that after the end of test series, both the teams went out for a dinner together. At
the end of the day, they need
it's a
their IPL
gentleman's.
contracts.
You are putting in that way.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I didn't mean that. Actually, I was saying that end of the day, cricket is a gentleman's game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when teams are able to compete and then shake hands off the field, that is how sport should be.
Yep.
Whatever happens on the cricket field, let it be, leave it there, come back. I'm not someone who has a temper, but when I play cricket, I get so angry.
Yes.
And it's just how the game is and how the sport makes you feel. It doesn't mean that these individuals or even myself have anything against the players I'm playing against.
It's
just part of the game.
adrenaline rush,
Yeah,
heat
even
of
me
the
and you
moment.
have had fights on the cricket pitch. It doesn't mean
We
anything.
do.
So you kind of started dwelling into the test matches, but I think we should go in a bit of a systematic way. In the first two test matches actually, let me rephrase it. Something very interesting happened in day 2.5,
Huh. The Lord's Test?
Lord's Test, July 10th to 14th. At the exact halfway point of the series, after England scored 387 and India also scored 387,
India has won one match and England has won one match. 1-1 to 367, 367.
Correct.
That's exactly the midpoint of a test series, and the result says the same.
and they are equally matched.
Yep.
There is nothing to differentiate between the two teams. Now you contextualize that with the predictions the fans, the experts, the pundits had made. What do you think up until the halfway point? What do you think were the strengths of each side? And who do you think were the standout performers apart from obviously Shubman Gill?
If you look at the first match itself, Indian batters hit a 5 centuries, and we had a fifer from Bumrah.
Mm-hmm.
Still, we ended up losing.
Correct.
That was a batting brilliance.
Ben Duckett.
Batting brilliance from England.
Mm-hmm.
They pulled out. It was quite expected for us because that's the way they play their cricket. And most of it were not surprised because that's not a big total when you play a Bazball like that.
Credit where it's due though, Sharan. No team chases high targets as
England.
consistently as these guys do.
Yes. So that's how
371? I can never imagine Pakistan chasing that in a fourth test.
and that was like a cakewalk. They didn't even felt a pressure.
No way. Yeah, they won by 5 wickets, man. Easy.
Coming to the second test match,
Bumrah gets dropped or rested, rotated, whatever word you want to use.
I will say it as rested
Okay.
because
He took a 5 wickets.
He took a 5 for-
ball, so he cannot be dropped. Yeah.
so he got rested because we already knew that he can't play all 5 matches. What had happened to his body in BGT, we all are very aware of. And coming to the Bumrah, there was a cricket pundits in subcontinent and even on the western sides trying to criticize him like why when Siraj can play all 5, why can't Bumrah? So I particularly want you to answer as a fast bowler how a workload has to be managed, and with the action with Bumrah carries, make the viewers or our listeners understand that what is the difference between a normal fast bowler and a Bumrah. It's not his impact. Just try to explain in terms of biomechanics.
All right. That's a great question, Sharan. First and foremost, we have to understand that Bumrah has hyperextensive joints. Hyperextensive joints are usually found in the elbow or the back. So when we ball and we are at our release point, when we deliver, the elbow straightens, right? It extends to deliver the ball. When you're hyperextensive, the connective ligaments that connect your forearm to your upper arm, and the ligaments are connected through a connective tissue. Once you have hyperextensive joints, the tissue is weaker. So your elbow relies less on your bone structure to support and more on the tissue, which is already weak. So what that does is, think of a fast car. If a fast car is going at 200 miles and it brakes suddenly, there's likely to be a larger impact on the car. Whereas if a car is going at a slower speed, let's say 50 miles per hour, and it brakes, it's not going to have as strong of an impact. When Bumrah with his hyperextensivity is like a 200 miles hour bowler, like a 200 miles bowler car, if I can put it that way. The reason for that is that hyperextension gives him that extra 5-10 kilometers of pace. When you give it that extra 5-10 kilometers of pace, because of that overextension that normal individuals like you and I don't have, it also means that his body has to overwork to stop his arm once he finishes bowling.
The force of inertia.
The follow through, the force of inertia. So when that extra strain is on his body, along with that biomechanical action where he has that straight leg upon delivery stride, all of his hyperextensive joints are leaning forward.
Yeah.
And when they lean forward, he has to apply more force than the average individual to stop himself in the follow through. Otherwise, this guy will fall face forward because of all the momentum that takes him. So how does workload management come in? Every time he balls, he's banging into a wall. He's a 200 miles car banging into a wall. Every time he bangs into the wall, his body is taking more hits than an average bowler. So that's where workload management comes in. They absolutely destroyed him in BGT, which is why they had to handle him carefully in ATT. I also want to let you know that in that recently concluded match between UAE and India, it was Bumrah's first T20 in 14 months since the ICC T20
World Cup.
2024 World Cup final. He hasn't played white ball cricket since then except the IPL.
Yeah.
So he comes out back after 14 months because of this workload management even now. And then in the ATT, we saw him being used sparingly where he plays one test match, sits one out. And the main reason is that just like a car needs to go to the repair shop after a crash, so does Bumrah. And you want to know something else? Someone else that was exactly like him? The great Shoaib Akhtar.
Mm-hmm.
Shoaib Akhtar's hyperextensive joints were further worsened by the fact that he was flat-footed.
Mm-hmm.
Doctors had told him that because of your physical makeup, you will never be able to run or even play a sport.
Mm-hmm.
These are the sort of challenges that athletes with hyperextensive joints deal with. And with that, Bumrah has not only become the greatest fast bowler we have right now, he's the greatest fast bowler India has ever produced. Kapil Dev does not come close. I'm so sorry. Kapil Dev was an all-rounder. He won you matches with the bat and ball, but an out-and-out bowler that can do so much despite his limitations, no one comes close.
And still people went on to criticize him on
It's
social
ridiculous.
media.
Like,
Ridiculous.
it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, Bumrah makes batsmen like Babar Azam, Steve Smith, Kane Williamson look like amateurs.
True.
So, of course you have to manage his workload. If you don't manage his workload, you crash a car enough times, it will be totaled.
True.
And that's what they tried to do with him in the BGT.
Well answered, Hassan. So coming back to the test series,
Yes, sir.
particularly as we done with the first test, when we went for the second test, when Gill scored 250 odd runs in a first match, then he scored 160 odd runs in a second innings. This was basically, he was very close to the Bradman's record. So as a non-Indian, how do you accept a fact that Gill is growing good and he's trying to tally a greatest batsman scores? Like he overtook Dravid's record, he overtook Virat Kohli's record, he was very close to the Bradman's record. As a non-Indian, how do you feel Gill is excelling?
You see, I would like to tell our viewers that obviously Sharon and I talk a lot about cricket off the camera as well. And we discussed a lot about Gill before the series began. Shubman Gill's biggest question mark was whether he has the aggression and the temperament to be a captain. And what we saw in the second test match was Gill showing his aggressiveness and showing him that he's here to fight. On top of that, even if there were any doubters in and around the Indian cricket team, he shut them up with that 147 he hit in that first test match itself. If Gill had not scored that 100 in that first test match, or even this double 100 in the second test match, I don't think the Indian players would have rallied behind him the same way they were able to, because this guy was leading from the front.
I truly agree.
If the captain is leading from the front, there is nothing better you can ask for.
Yep.
Pakistan's most successful run in white ball cricket was with Babar Azam as captain and him scoring runs. You look at Virat's pinnacle, especially in test cricket, he wasn't only captain, he was scoring runs. You look at Graeme Smith as well historically. Look at Michael Clark. You look at Kumar Sangakkara, Mahela Jayawardene, the legends. These captains took their performances to the next level the moment Ricky Ponting, even Rohit Sharma's post-captaincy numbers are incredible.
Yep.
So, when you have such examples in history as well as in the Indian cricket team with Virat and Rohit, and he is filling that void, it would be an understatement to say that he was under pressure.
True.
He was under more pressure than maybe anyone in this world.
Yeah, because he is what, like 25, 26 years old.
Younger than us.
Yes, he was the youngest captain of a decade. You are captaining one of the biggest test team in the world. You can put it in that way.
It's the biggest cricket playing nation.
So
Full stop.
the pressure, you need to make 1.4 billion people happy. The decision of making him was captain was questioned.
And-
There was a lot more on the stake.
And the reason I respect Gill, which is now where I'm going to finally answer your question, the reason I really respect him and also admire his excellence is that who have been the last three captains of India? MS Dhoni, Virat Kohli,
Mm.
Rohit Sharma. Ek se badkar ek.
Mm.
And then this crown is placed on a youngster's head, Shubman Gill, and that too in red ball test cricket under a new coach. And not an easy coach, a very difficult personality as well. So he also has to gauge that.
Yeah.
And in the team, he not only has seniors like Ravindra Jadeja, he also has extreme youngsters like Yashasvi Jaiswal. So having someone in the middle of this age range is a masterstroke. There are no doubts about his skills and talents. So it's a great appointment from that point of view. And then the litmus test, right? Can he actually do it on the field? I think he proved to everyone that he can.
Yeah.
And for that, I think he is excelling, to answer your question. But the question remains is that can he continue this? I have personally doubts over Gautam Gambhir's future as Indian coach. With a new coach, does captaincy change or not? These are questions we have to ask. Does India end up giving Shubman Gill all three formats captaincy, or do they continue with this staggered situation? These are questions that need to be asked. But if we just focus on this series, he did not excel. He conquered.
True. I agree that.
So now, Sharon, that we have kind of identified, the standout players and, the expectations and challenges that each player had to deal with. And we also spoke about the halfway point in the third test match where the teams were exactly equal,
Well poised.
right? It was the definition of a series drawn at that point. Nothing to differentiate them. And that very same third test match ended with that heartbreaking bold that Mohammad Siraj experienced. I don't even know if it's a bold because the ball just rolled back onto
And
the
it has
stumps. It was probably one of the unluckiest dismissals I've seen in a long time. At that point, when I was watching, I was like, ये तो इंडिया के लिए मुश्किल लग रहा है, इनकी तो किस्मत ही साथ नहीं दे रही. Translation, this looks a little difficult for India. Luck does not seem to be favoring them. Did you feel that way at that point?
If you look at that match particularly, we were in no position to draw that test match. And when the test match panned out in the next sessions, Jadeja was staying at one end, scoring most of the runs. We were very close, like we wanted 127 odd runs when we were having only 4 wickets. Jadeja was the one who has to play the aggressor role, as well as he has to play the role of saving the wickets. Who comes in handy? This was the same India's tail batting lineup, who is to be getting cleaned in 5 overs, I guess. Because Bumrah is a through and through tail-ender, and Siraj is a kind of pinch hitter, but he is not as capable of Shami. We need to agree that Shami and Umesh Yadav were the batsmen who used to swing and they have a 50s on their name. But you can't expect the same thing from
Siraj,
Prasidh and all.
yeah.
So even in that situation, Bumrah comes out and plays 54 odd balls, and Siraj plays 30 plus balls. That was they're the best. You can't expect them to play more than that. Indian tail is not a England's tail or Australian tail.
It doesn't wag.
It doesn't wag.
But in this third test match, it did.
It did. And in this particular test match, this tail gave us a hope. The hope that yes, we are very close. All they need to save their wicket. Jadeja gonna play. He was doing it. But one of the things I heard from other people or the friends I speak with about the cricket, they were asking or they were suggesting Jadeja to take a more strike rather than giving a strike to Bumrah or Siraj, because they are taking an example of Headingley test match where when Stokes was batting, Leach could only able to play I think 24 balls. Whereas when you see this, the combined the number of balls Bumrah and Siraj plays combined was more than 80 balls. When you have a Jadeja at the other end and who is well settled, she should not be letting Bumrah and Siraj to play more balls than he does, because every third or fourth ball in a over he is to give a single. And that part was bit questioned, but whatever Jadeja has did in that particular innings was
Particular innings, I don't understand this criticism of his batting. The guy has scored at 89, then he literally battles single-handedly in the third test match, scores 100 in the fourth test match. He's not even supposed to be scoring runs. He's primarily in the team as a bowling all-rounder, but he's doing all of that, yet you have the audacity to criticize him.
it's
Washington,
not me, I just
Washington Sundar, I know it's not you. Washington Sundar as well. Like, how can we forget his 53 in the final?
Yes.
Final test match? It completely flipped the momentum of the match.
Yes, that was very quick.
So these are technically your tail enders, or they are your lower order batsmen who have historically not performed, but this is something you guys cracked. Yes, it only finally worked in the third test match, but when it did, Washington Sundar and Jadeja then played important knocks, not only in the third test match, but also the fourth and most importantly, the fifth.
So coming back to that heartbreaking moment
Of Siraj.
I still can't understand how a ball meet middle of the bat and went on to hit a stump and take off the bill and decide
The fate of the test match.
of the test match. How was this even possible? You look at the reaction of Siraj. He was grounded. He was buried in a crease. He just sat down. He was like, he reacted like he is the whole reason why India lost the match. Come on, Siraj, it's not you. We all agree whatever you did was a heroics.
He did face a lot of heat though.
No, he didn't.
Social media
No,
seemed
no,
like
no.
it. No?
No. Siraj,
Okay.
Siraj was well backed in the social media as well.
I mean, after the fifth test match,
No,
yeah.
it's from the
but the third, I felt like there was a lot of like, they've been playing for so long. इनको बैट भी पकड़ना नहीं आता, इनको defend भी नहीं करना आता. ये सब तो बातें.
I don't call them a cricket fans, to be frank, if you are putting some kind of comments like this.
You don't think it's an invalid point for someone to say that this individual has been playing test cricket for a decade, not for India, but generally, has been playing test cricket for 5 to 10 years and still doesn't know how to hold a bat? My only answer to them would be,
Expertise.
yeah,
Look
but
in
you
their
know, I
own-
will always give you an example. Glenn McGraw, one of the greatest fast bowlers of all time, was one of the most horrible batsmen of all time.
Anderson.
James Anderson. I don't
100
even know
odd
why he
matches.
batted left-handed. But point being, when someone wants to criticize, but that's the only reason I was bringing it up, is that I always like to bring what the media, what the narrative is saying, is because fortunately or unfortunately, they
all
mold the brains of the younger generations especially. That being said, fourth test match. After the ball rolls over, the backspin, all of that, Siraj is bowled, England celebrate as if that bowled was an achievement of their own and it wasn't luck. The fourth test match comes in, and after England hits 669, you're thinking this series is going to be 3-1. 3-1 by the end of the fourth test match. Talk us through that, and specifically Washington Sundar's 101 and 107. And I know you mentioned a little bit about it in the past when we were talking about the first two test matches, but just talk about this in isolation, that yes, Washington Sundar and Jadeja scored hundreds. There was that whole controversial moment where Stokes wanted to shake hands, but Ben Stokes was man of the match.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I would say this was a victory for India.
Yeah.
But you take it from here.
So when India scored not a dominating runs, it didn't pile a lot of runs in their first innings compared to the England standards and the England pitch which they offered. Then when England came to bat, they scored over 600 runs. That's a lot of runs.
669.
669. So when India comes to bat trailing 250 runs and more, it is a mental pressure. You need to break it. And in a same mental pressure, India went on to lose their first two openers very cheaply, like 0 for 2. That when you look at the scoreboard, whichever be the batsman, you have to feel the pressure. And who comes out to bat? captain. And
Gill.
who was on the other end? KL Rahul. KL Rahul was in a fantastic touch. I should be saying that the way he batted his whole batting position, the way he was meeting the ball right under his eyes, it was one of the most poetic expression of any batsman. When he drives, when he this was the best. This time when you look at the Sky Sports, they were showing a shot in all the dimensions. You will see that the camera angles. It looks so beautiful when KL Rahul bats. It was always a beautiful, but the technique which he has implemented in recent years is pretty much evident that why he is playing so well. Scoring 500 odd runs at the average of 53 was one of the reason why India could draw that series. Though it's a draw, but Indians take it as a victory. There is nothing wrong with it.
Definitely. Batting out 2.5 days to save the test match is no less than a victory.
So when Gill and Rahul set up a strong basement to the mentality that how India is approaching this test match, it was not a cakewalk for Washington Sundar because he was not in a brilliant touch. When you look at Washington Sundar's heroics in BGT, he scored 90 plus runs twice. So he was almost near to his 100. And so, but in this series, he was not as good as he used to be. So he was under pressure. And other end was Jadeja, consistent performer. He was a run machine this time. He was scoring 50s for a joke. Every time he scores 50, we are in a enjoy to see his sword celebration. So when you have a senior most all-rounder, in upcoming years, Sundar will be the one who will be playing the role of Jadeja. So you can just see
the present and the future were playing together.
Representing together and saving a test match. So when Jadeja started giving a space for Washington Sundar was like 10 runs in his first 50 balls. Then they were playing a session by session. They divided their whole session into 10 or 5. Then they said like, let's play out this bowler first. Then, so they played the situation rather than the match. And when you look at the match in England's perspective, Ben Stokes was bowling like I don't know, do you call him a man?
A man possessed.
10 over straight. You call him an all-rounder. He's bowling 10 over spell. You know he comes with an intensity. He's not the bowler who just comes and bowls and
has an equally complex injury history like Bumrah.
But still he was pulling.
Yeah.
He was able to bowl 10 over spells. He was trying to take wickets. But at one point, even England understood that this is not going to be as easy as they think. That's where these Jadeja and Washington Sundar started putting extra pressure on them. That's when they went to score 100. Then what the
try to end the match early.
Yeah. With this result, even Stokes has to take a toll on his body. He went on not to play the next match. So this is what I was explaining, how a rest or required or how a workload has to be balanced.
And then obviously in the 5th test match, they also lost Chris Woakes to injury. Before we go into the 5th test match, Sharon, I'm surprised you haven't mentioned Mr. Karnataka, Karun Nair. He was making a comeback to the test side.
That was an emotional side. The way it was his famous tweet, like if you know, he asked like he wants one more chance. Basically, he was asking cricket like, can you be fair on me? Can you give me one more chance? Because this is the same guy who scored 300 in his like 2017 series, and he disappeared from cricket like he never existed.
But holds a test 100 for India.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he comes back. It was like people, if they don't know like what Karan Nair has put up, he changed his Ranji sides. He went on to play for the new side where he scored lot and tons of runs. That is Indian experience. He even has an experience of playing for the county. So he was training hard on the England pitches and the England situation so that he can contribute the position, because he was basically filling the void which Cheteshwar Pujara has left.
So if I understand correctly, Karun Nair was already in England before the Indian team arrived.
Yes.
And he was already playing in the local conditions.
The IPL. He was not expected. He was not expecting the call for IPL. So he was preparing for the test series even before test series was announced. That was the preparation.
So
which
he did
had.
everything right, and
Yeah.
despite that, the series
Results
wasn't.
don't speak. End of the day, nobody asks like how many hours you have studied. The end of the day, world's gonna ask you how much you scored in an exam.
Unfortunately.
So the amount of efforts he has put up, this was a significance as an example set to the youngsters that even if you are dead and buried and have a failure, please go back to the drawing board, look at your things, work hard, and you world and the God and a cricket gonna give you a chance.
Sharon, isn't it kind of interesting that Karun Nair is making a comeback to the test team at the age of 33, 34 and Virat is retiring from test cricket at 35, 36.
Irony.
There is, I guess, no fixed number as to when you can play the game till. Let's round it off, Sharan, with the pinnacle that was the 5th test match at the Oval. Talk us through it.
To be frank, Hassan, 5th stage was a test match where I enjoyed the most because they are low scoring matches. India scored 224. In return, England scored 247 and India comes out to bat, scored 396. We were in a dilemma whether this is enough, whether they will go and play their A game as a baseball.
As they did in the first test
as
match?
they did in a first test match. If we are getting a bit help from the oval pitch on the day 5, could be able to utilize it. So this was a question we are in, but we were not sure till the last ball was bowled because the margin of victory was 6 runs. That is the closest margin with which India ever won a test match. You remember?
Wow.
You remember? Because in EST the match starts 6 a.m. And we were on a PlayStation. We were playing late night, but still I could able to wake up and watch the match.
Yeah.
Because the match went super intense.
Thrilling.
Root and Brook took it away from us. At some point we were nowhere in the match and all of a sudden hell was raining on England. 42 runs and England lost their 7 wickets.
You know what this reminds me of?
What?
T20 World Cup final.
31,
Andre
30.
Klaassen and David Miller running away with the game.
Yeah.
And then hell breaks loose on the chokers.
No, you can't say the chokers. We have made an episode on...
Yes, they are not the chokers, but I did also say that we need to wait for them to show us that they aren't choking at least once more, and then I will call them not as chokers.
So...
One time?
That is too hard.
Too harsh?
Too harsh. And that day when India started bowling, I should really appreciate Prasidh Krishna's brilliant bowling. He is not bowling to his potential. What I can believe, his numbers can't define what Prasidh Krishna is. He just won a purple cap in IPL. That's no joke. You know what standard IPL bowlers or IPL wicket takers are like. So the way he set up Josh Tongue, you remember,
yes.
He just sent a third man back. So thinking that it was a bouncer, then he tried he bowled a Yorker and it was a clean bowled. He just foxed a
Actually,
bowler.
that setup went viral.
Yeah. So even when Brook, Root were playing, India had no chance. Then once it started panning out when they got 2 wickets in a row, then they came into the game. And when the last day was started, India was needed like 6 wickets.
Wickets were going to win you the match. You could not defend and win.
Yeah, because there was no much runs to pad off. So you need to take a wickets to win the match. That was the situation. And I remember Dale Steyn tweeted saying that Siraj going to take 5 wickets even before the match. And to the surprise, Siraj went on to take the last wicket to make a 5 haul, and he paid a respect to Dale Steyn for putting up that post.
And Siraj was also able to re-salvage himself from what happened in the 3rd test match, which wasn't really a mistake of his, but it obviously had a huge impact. I think he was crying, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when they won this test match, it was not a test match. Your whole series was on the line. If you scored that 6 runs, it would be 3-1, and history would remember the 3-1 rather than 2-2. So it was a lot of things on stake. When you look at the Gambhir's coaching career as a Indian coach, he just transitioned from the Dravid. Though both have a different approach of games and both have a different results. Gambhir, when you look at his 15 match, he could only able to win 33% of it. So away wins especially in England would bring a better success for a Gambhir moving forward. It will boost a confidence for a new captain like Gill, and this series will be a foundation for the transition. And when we move forward, when we are aged, when we look back and we remember this series, this was closest to the 2005 Ashes which we were mentioning the other day. This is how we're gonna remember. This is how the next generation will look up to. A close call. If the 6 runs were scored, we would be 3-1. But still, we able to pull it off. It was a brilliant performance from India, from the situation which they were out of the match, and then they came back to take the wickets on a trot and win the match.
I think this is a great segue for us to move to our last segment, What's Next, where we talk about the future. And I would also like to add that despite the series being drawn 2-2, the reason we are in so much in favor of India and what they achieved was because in the fourth and fifth test match, twice they were out of the game.
True.
It looked like the English side, Bazball, would wrap up this series ASAP.
True.
But both times they came from the claws of defeat and fought back and ended up drawing the series despite everyone telling them that they had no chance.
True.
So, where do we go from here? And for that, we move on to our next segment, What's Next? Welcome to our last segment, What's Next? What's next for England and Bazball? What's next for Gautam Gambhir and Shubman Gill? And do these 25 days of Test cricket give us a reminder of why we need to work the hardest to preserve the original form of cricket? Sharon, first things first. Gambhir has won the Champions Trophy as coach for India.
Yes.
However, that triumph came shortly after Dravid's tenure ended as Indian coach. So there is an element of, okay, Gambhir must have had some sort of influence, but we cannot neglect whatever Dravid had built up until this point. Gambhir naturally has to take the baton and move forward. And some would say that he did it successfully by continuing India's success from winning the T20 World Cup and then the Champions Trophy. Where do you see his future lie? And that too specifically in Test cricket in tandem with Shubman Gill.
That was a great question, Hassan. When you look at the numbers of Gautam Gambhir is a different gravy as a coach for the ODI or the white ball cricket, whereas Gautam Gambhir as a coach in red ball cricket does not define the numbers what he has in a white ball cricket. Under Gautam Gambhir's coaching, India went on to play 15 test matches till now. They won 2-0 against Bangladesh. They lost 3-0 against New Zealand in home. Then they went on to play BGT, where they could barely win one match. Then we had England Test Series. When you look at the roadmap of how Gambhir's coaching has panned out, he played against the three of the strongest teams, New Zealand, Australia and England.
Fair.
When you look at the results, England was the most favorable result he could ever have, like at least as of now, 3-0. And BGT, we could barely win one match. And then we won 2 matches and tried to draw the series. When you look at all these things, there were so much of scrutiny happening in a mindsets of Indian cricket fans. And some of the seniors which I spoke with, like they are the cricket followers, like they are 15, 20 years elder to me, but the only thing we connect with is cricket. So some of the seniors has coined this Gautam Gambhir's era as a Ian Chappell era, whether India gonna do something which they never did, or Gautam Gambhir gonna do something that India never ever faced. So we were in a path to see the transition, the best transition or the worst decline.
You know, it's really interesting that you say that we aren't sure whether Gambhir would go one way or the other. It makes me question his appointment. And I say that because Gambhir's temperament has always been an issue. He has too much of a flair. I cannot accept this excuse कि जब आप अपने देश के लिए खेलते हो तो आपको गुस्सा आता है. यार, please, off. Just because you're playing for your country doesn't mean you forget your manners and etiquettes on the cricketing field. क्या ये अच्छा लगता है कि इंडियन नेशनल टीम का कोच एक पिच क्यूरेटर से जाके लड़ रहा है?
There is a lot
Does
of
this pay heed to the position he's in? And you look at the characters that India has had. You've had the Ravi Shastris, the Rahul Dravids leading and coaching India from the front. And then you have a cricketer turned aggressive, borderline nationalist politician coming in and becoming the Indian coach.
see Hassan, like you can't really compare orange to an apple, since we are coming from an era of Dravid, more diplomatic, more silent. But what Gautam Gambhir brings to the table is his aggressive approach to the cricket field or a coaching type. I don't really disagree with you saying that a coach shouldn't be going and fighting against the curator. That's a end of the day. That's a fair point. He shouldn't be going and doing. But what had happened between the 22 yards in that particular test match was something else. How the curator has treated the Indian team, why he was not letting us to see the pitch. As a coach, it's your responsibility to go see the pitch. You have to do your match planning. It has to be assessment of the pitch which allows Gambhir and his squad to prepare his team. So it was very much evident that when coach went to look after the pitch, the curator stopped them. That was the whole thing which we saw, at least in a media.
Yeah, Sharon, don't misunderstand. I'm not saying that the pitch curator didn't do anything and as Gambhir decided to go and fight him. There are always two sides to the story.
Yep.
But I'm talking about the positions both of them have. One is probably working 9 to 5, making a decent paycheck, going home, doesn't have to do a lot with cricket. He just has a specific role to play. On the other hand, you have Gautam Gambhir, who is the not only an ex-captain of India, but he is the current head coach of the Indian cricket team, one of the most lucrative sports teams in the world.
True.
And I'm 100% certain that there are people in the team, with the team, who are responsible for logistics and administrative work. This isn't Gambhir's responsibility to go pick a fight with a curator, bro. It's just like, and that's my primary issue with Gambhir, is that just focus on the cricket, man.
Temperament.
I've been asking you that since the 2000s. Just focus on the cricket. And think about, like I'm saying this as a Pakistani, bro, think about your country and its reputation and its optics. When you, as a 15 and 20 man squad, go to England, you're representing your nation. You have to think about these things. That curator presented a very bad image of England as hosts.
True.
It goes both ways.
Yes.
But I would expect Gambhir to be the bigger man.
Yeah, but in that situation, Gambhir would have done? They would have sent his delegates.
Yeah,
Like
that's
they would have
better.
sent a Mokel.
Don't get your hands dirty, man. You're chief executive. You're the coach of the national team.
Yeah, they would have handled it very better. But nowadays, if you see, you can't hide anything from the media. Some or the other ways, the video is going to come out, and everyone that has their own perspective of things, how they put it in a media, everything goes in a optics. The reels and the content which I seen will be more towards backing up Gambhir. That's why
Of
I
course.
pitched in and backing the things which you are saying make sense. But he would have
I'm
handled
only
it in a
giving
better
you
way.
alternative point of views to think about.
Yes, I agree, but he would have handled it very better. Maybe this will be a learning since he started his coaching career very recently. So moving forward, he will be learning because he had some certain kind of fights when he was a coach of LSG. He took up a fight with Virat Kohli.
Yeah.
So these things gonna happen since he is very young to the coaching setup, though he might be learning moving forward. But you remember, I completely agree with you that he has an aggressive character, be it a player, be it a coach. So when you are representing a whole 1.4 billion nation and you are representing as a coach of something, that you have to follow certain guidelines and maintain the decorum of a coaching position. So this will be a challenging path for Gambhir, and working with Gill is super soft when you compare to the Gambhir, and he's not so aggressive as like the Virat Kohlis or the Dada. So it will be an interesting thing to watch a calm captain and an aggressive coach. It used to be reverse in the Virat Kohli era. So let's see how it pans out.
There's also rumors that MS Dhoni might be hired as mentor for the Indian cricket team. And so My only question to you is that if India go on and win a tournament, who will Ambati Raidu credit?
Ambati Raidu will credit the guy who will be the man of the match of that final match.
You
I guess.
think?
I think.
Why are you being so diplomatic?
Okay, let me answer in a better way. So, as a coach, it will be a more responsibility if we win or lose.
Mm.
Some part of the credits
Mm.
or the critics has to go to the coach.
Mm.
So, as a part of mentor, Dhoni had been mentored India in one of the World Cup where India couldn't do well.
Mm.
So there was no so much of criticism on Dhoni. Obviously not. Mentor is a role. Basically, you can just give a guidance to the team. But as a mentor, you are not a part of a brainstorming session where you're gonna plan out everything, what player, what session. The role of mentor is very different from the role of coaching. The accountability of a mentor and accountability of a coach are very different. So if India went on to win the World Cup, where Gambhir is a head coach and Dhoni is a mentor, the credit has to go to the coach if they win, and if they lose, the critics has to go more towards a coaching thing. But I'm not really sure how Ambati Raidu or the followers
Of Thala.
Thala takes it. If they are responsible enough and they are more towards a cricket rather than following a demigod, they would be crediting and critiquing on a accountability or a creditability basis. So even Gill has to play some role in that. Please do consider a captain's position as well. And there are 11 players who gonna rub their ass off to play a cricket match and win it. So just don't go by following a demigod, or just don't go by optics of what media shows you. It's end of the day, it's your team, and everybody has to wish that India team has to perform well. And when a coach, mentor, and these 11 players gel together and they play together, then the results comes out to be a better. Okay, now I have an interesting question to ask for. Since you follow Bazball very closely and you follow England cricket very closer than which I follow, you have seen Ashes 2005, you have seen the most recent ATT, you have seen the transition of traditional test nation, you are seeing the Bazball nation. They are setting an example for other countries to play like what England does. Even the cricket committees of each nation has selecting players on this basis to play the aggressive cricket. When you see all this trend, what do you think Bazball's future gonna be? Whether Bazball is a blueprint for other nations, whether this Bazball is a successful model to implement on other nations, what is the future of England cricket, and how will Bazball play a role in it?
Sharon, that's a fantastic question. When I watch Bazball, I honestly feel it's the most entertaining form of test cricket. Something's happening every ball. There's no time being wasted. And the English team is grabbing the bull by its horns and trying to win the game as quickly as possible. My dad once said to me that he doesn't enjoy Bazball. And the reason that I enjoy Bazball is because of a generational gap. He said that because of the advent of T20 cricket, our generation, the late 90s kids, the early 2000 kids, don't have the patience to endure a 5-day match where we will watch more than 450 overs of cricket.
It's exactly like watching a reel versus watching a YouTube video.
Exactly. Right? But for me, it isn't the fact that they don't waste time and that they're scoring runs at the speed of light. For me, the main issue or the main attractive thing about Bazball is that it's had a huge impact on the world of cricket. As you mentioned, so many teams are now getting influenced by their style of play. If you look at the data, all test playing nations have increased their run rates in the last year or two, right? So what does that tell us? It tells us that Bazball has innovated and pioneered something new in test cricket. You could even say that them doing this in test cricket adds to the efforts that are being made to rejuvenate test cricket. My only amateur and humble advice to Bazball would be learn something from Liverpool FC. It's the club I support wholeheartedly and I have for more than 25 years. And I can speak on them because they are the ones I feel more comfortable talking about. When Jurgen Klopp was made manager of Liverpool Football Club in 2016, he introduced the concept of heavy metal football. He was already playing it in Dortmund in Germany, but essentially it's this way of playing where you press the opponent at all times. So you're on top of their head. Similar to what Bazball does. They're trying to hit you for 6 every ball, or they're trying to get you out every ball. But when Jurgen Klopp, after a couple of years, was starting to now go towards the tail end of his career, a lot of teams started cracking the code. They started figuring him out, apart from just Pep Guardiola. And then Arne Slot comes in as a successor to Klopp. And what he does is that he just tweaks the heavy metal football. He tweaks that gegenpressing of staying on top of the head, and he asks his players to think twice before they go and press the opponents. He said, if you're going to press the opponents, just make sure that you think about the step after you press. Whereas Jurgen Klopp was more one-dimensional, that we will play the way we want to, regardless of who the opponent is or what the circumstances. I think that Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes can take a page out of Arne Slot's book. How can they continue and sustain their aggression but tame it when it's necessary? Because anything that operates on extremities will never give you consistent results. The key is balance. If Bazball finds its balance, where they can bat out 90 overs at a run rate of 3, but also at a run rate of 5, they will be number 1 in the world.
Number 1 in the world?
I think so. And with that being said, Sharon, these 25 days of Test cricket of the ATT reminded us that Test cricket needs to remain the number 1 format for all of us. No T20 or ODI match can give us the thrills, the excitement that this Test series provided us with. However, most of the time, the thrilling packed crowds kind of Test series only occurs between the top 3, the big 3. I don't know how we can have trophies like the ATT and the BGT being played outside of the big 3. But series like this remind us that there is a future of Test cricket, and that if the big 3 can actually lead from the front and play exciting Test cricket, I'm sure the rest of the Test nations will follow. The scheduling, the budgeting remains an issue. The big 3 continue to prioritize themselves. And so I think we will continue to see the English and Indian teams improve by leaps and bounds, and we are going to get more and more successful Anderson Tendulkar trophies in the coming years. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Hassan Ali, and this was Sharan Kumar. And behind the camera, like always, we were joined by Rupesh Atmori. We'll speak to you some other day, some other time. Take care.